Hey, Trojan family, what's going on? Welcome to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB Network. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud, live from the Dyrud Dojo, Downey Parking Structure, USC Trojans Tuesday post-practice report here for USC LAFB. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope your week is off to a great start. Thanksgiving week, rivalry week, it's UCLA week. A lot of excitement. I know, obviously, a brutal, crushing loss on Saturday at the hands of the Oregon Ducks, and we've talked about that extensively. You know, maybe have a little bit even more chat throughout the week, but overall, we're kind of looking forward now to UCLA, to this Thanksgiving, to what this season has been, and obviously we'll have you covered for all things USC right here. Wrapped up practice, as I said. We were able to talk to Coach Lincoln Riley. We talked to Tanook Hines. We talked to Kaylon Miller, King Miller, and Jayden Maiava. And so, a couple tidbits, I think, from there. Player-wise, just real focused on finishing this season strong. I don't think there was any big things to latch onto by what anyone said. Jayden Maiava, King Miller, they're all just kind of locked in on, disappointment in the loss, but looking to finish the season strong. They know how important this rivalry is for not just this university, for not just this team, but for the city of Los Angeles and this fan base. So hoping to keep the victory bell here at USC after reclaiming it back just last year at the Rose Bowl in a defensive grudge match. Not a lot of offense in that game, but did have the very exciting finish with the Jayden Maiava to Jacoby Lane touchdown, and then the defense held them at the end there to secure the win and get that victory bell painted cardinal yet again. So they'll look to do that, and I think this team looks pretty locked in. A question that was asked to basically everyone was, hey, after a loss like you just had to Oregon, where, you win, you're basically in the college football playoff. You lose now, and that kind of ends your season, at least in terms of the goal of the playoff. How do you keep this team motivated? Because that is a real concern. I'm not saying for this specific team, but in general, when you have that kind of a letdown and your season ultimately is over in terms of what your aspirations were, like, how do you inspire guys to still play at the highest level, knowing what is in front of them and who they're playing against? And, it's all just words right now. We'll see the meaning of that come at the Coliseum at 4:30 on Saturday, but it was all resounding like there doesn't need to be extra motivation. We know how important this game is. We know we want to end this season strong, and we know that, hey, whatever game is in front of us, we're tasked to go win that game, regardless of the outcome of the last game, regardless of what can come afterwards. Like, we know this is the game in front of us. We got to go win. So I think it was good overall, answers, or kind of the vibe of, hey, we got to put Oregon behind us, and we got still a lot in front of us to go put together a 9-win regular season, and then obviously the bowl game and stuff, we'll get to that later. But, finishing this season the right way, I think, was definitely the message for all of these players we talked to. So, I think that's good there. Talking to Lincoln Riley, asked a number of different things, that being one of them. Kind of just where this team sits, how Jayden Maiava, how he thinks he has improved, and mentioned his situational awareness he feel like has improved throughout the season in terms of, for instance, in that Oregon game, a lot of Oregon fans love to point out, like, hey, you're just throwing jump balls and getting PI calls. Some of that is situational awareness, right? When Jayden Maiava is scrambling from the pocket and knowing, hey, I got one-on-one matchup with Jacoby Lane, like, I just got to chuck it over there, and either he's going to come down with it or he's probably going to get a penalty. Worst case scenario, it falls incomplete, or if it's a third or fourth down, it's an interception, but hey, it's a 40-yard down the field. It's kind of a long punt. So obviously there's still some decision-making that hasn't been the best throughout the season. Lincoln Riley obviously acknowledged that, but overall his situational awareness, just knowing when to make certain plays, has improved. There's been some mistakes, but overall that, I think, has improved the most throughout this season, is what Lincoln Riley was saying. So I thought it was interesting. He was asked by my buddy Ryan Karche from the LA Times about, Husan Longstreet. And in this day and age, it is very challenging, especially at quarterback, because you're a backup. It's not like another guy that can still get reps. If you're the backup and that patience starts to run out, like the fear of someone transferring. And we were talking about that, before we walked into practice, and I'm sure many of you have talked about too, like, and we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but like if Jayden Maiava decides to stay for another year, meaning Husan Longstreet needs to sit most likely another year, like is there worry that he would just hit the portal and go and leave? Now, obviously with NIL and stuff like that, you can alleviate that a little bit, but let's be really clear here. Husan Longstreet could probably start at 80% of Power 4 schools next year. Maybe more than 80%. Like, 5-star prospect coming as a freshman, now being in this system a whole year. I mean, you talk to his teammates, and some were asked today. I mean, they just rave about him. His leadership, his ball skills, his arm talent. I mean, this kid's going to be really, really good. So is there fear if Maiava, and obviously the best guy needs to play, but I think Maiava it'd be smart of him to come back another year as well, right? Get him back in this system for, another full offseason. We've seen the improvement this year that he's been, and it would be best probably for his NFL prospects to have one more year with Lincoln Riley as well. So Riley was asked about that, and this is a conversation we'll probably have quite a bit in December until that transfer portal does open. They're just, remember, the one window now, the window's different now, but, just before the one window, we'll talk about this a lot. But, and he said, look, we understand the gravity of the situation. We understand the climate of college football. Some guys have patience, some guys don't. He said, Husan's done a ton of good things this year, and it's been invaluable, the exposure that he's had to, while he's not been on the field, the learning of the situational awareness, the learning of what to do in certain, pass sets, certain schematic formations, that now when he goes to play, he will be able to kind of relate that from his time learning this year, and can get even more of that if that happens to be the case next year. Again, we don't know what's going to happen with Jayden Maiava, but if so, even that second year of learning could be really foundational for his future prospects. And he brought up, like, outside of Jalen Hurts, every quarterback that has come through Lincoln Riley has actually sat to start with. Now, not all of them have sat for 2 full seasons. Caleb Williams at Oklahoma only sat half a year before he took over. Baker Mayfield sat a little bit. Kyler Murray sat and transferred and whatnot. So, it's all kind of relative, and 2 years for a 5-star prospect does feel like a really long time. We'll get to that. But it was just an interesting, I think, well-thought-out answer. It didn't really hum it off. Just said, hey, we understand the landscape of college football. But he also said, and this will kind of allude to what I'll talk about next and kind of finish up with this post-practice recap, is, all players, especially quarterback, and he said this pretty bluntly. I have the interview up. You can watch it right here on the USC LAFB YouTube channel. But said, everyone recognizes that this is probably not a good time to leave USC. And I know fans are sick of hearing, like, almost there. But from a player perspective, like, you can see it. Like, whether you like that jargon or not, it is true that this team has improved substantially, and barring something unforeseen is going to be even better next year, just based on what they have in place, facilities, who's coming in. And so if you're a player and you see what's been, and you've sat through some, and you see what's being built and being laid, like, now is not a good time to go leave, unless, again, you're just like, hey, I just want to play this year. Like, I don't want to have to sit anymore. So that will be definitely an interesting one to watch. And as we get to more transfer portal talk, once the season's over, that will certainly be the hot button topic. Remember last year, once that portal, or even before it opened, Miami was trying hard to get Jayden Maiava. And tampering or not, what everyone wants to say, I mean, that was real. That was not just smoke. There was real fire there of Miami pushing for Maiava, and probably other schools too, to be honest. Now, obviously, USC doubled down and said, nope, Maiava's our guy. We want to keep him here. It'll be interesting this year to see if something like obviously teams are probably going to push for Husan, but there might even be teams pushing for Jayden if he returns another year. And so that's the weird complexity of college football these days. And with this kind of no real regulation of tampering, like, you're not supposed to. We all know it goes on. So, there's going to be probably some outside forces coming after both these guys. And so that'll kind of force USC to say, hey, as long as both these guys want to be here, we're all in on them. Or will it force them to say, hey, we got to pick one? Like, one of them's gonna ultimately leave. Who are we rolling with kind of going into the future? So will be really interesting. I anticipate both being here as of now, as of Thanksgiving week, heading into the Victory Bell game, but we will certainly see what that looks like kind of moving forward. And I'll kind of wrap with this. So Lincoln Riley was asked again, respectfully, kind of if he plans to be here next year, with the team, and still a successful season overall from the national perspective. 8-3 right now, potentially 9-3, potentially 10-3 with a bowl win. His name always pops up, and there's been rumors floating around of his name all over the place. And I thought he shut it down just as much as he has throughout this process and said, 100%, I plan on being here. I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm excited about what we're building, excited about what the future, pointed up to the facility, literally building. And I want to be here to see this thing get back to where it should be. So, again, barring anything crazy, that puts that to bed again. I know there's rumors. It seems like every week a new kind of team emerges. I saw some random Baylor board last week that threw his name out there, like linking him to Baylor. Obviously, we know about Texas Tech and Florida. And so whether you like it or love it, Lincoln Riley looks like will be the head coach of USC next year, which, in my opinion, is the way it should be based on what we've seen this year. And so that's what I'll end with. And I know this is the conversation all the time, especially after a loss, of how much patience is too much patience, how much grace is too much grace. And I think what you've seen throughout these 4 seasons, this is by far the best place USC has been in ending a season. And so to chop that up, and in today's day and age, especially with if Chad Bowden, the GM, is in place, depending who you replace with, which is a whole other, I haven't even looked at because there's no point right now. You can still retain a lot of, I know some in the class could potentially leave or not, but you could still retain quite a bit because of a lot of the other factors that would still be in place here. But you would still lose a lot, and you would still change the dynamics of the locker room, and certain, obviously a lot of if not all the coaching staff would be different. To do that right now, ending your season the best that this program, the best place this program has been in the Lincoln Riley era, would be silly to me. Because even after year one, right? Year one maybe been the best record year. Fourth in the nation going into the Pac-12 title game. You finish 11-3, but you lose your last 2. The red flags were there, right? The red flags were there on the defense. Red flags were there about Grinch. Red flags were there about going too heavy transfer portal, not having the depth in terms of high school development, not recruiting enough in California. So it was not in a great spot going into that offseason. Even though it was an overall good season, it wasn't in a great spot. Then we know in year 2, he retains Grinch, which was obviously one of the big mistakes. Year 2 was a disaster. Record-wise, finished a little better than year 3, but it was a disaster overall in terms of setting his rebuild back. And I'm just pointing to you straight. I'm not saying that's how it should have been, but that's how it happened. And so then going into year 3, you reset the rebuild, right? And you first reset the rebuild with an entire new defensive staff. And then you reset the rebuild with a change in philosophy in recruiting in terms of, okay, we're getting back to developing youth and filling through the transfer portal where needed. So you get your full 180 reset going into year 3. Then going into year 4, so year 3, you kind of see the foundation. It was painful. There was obviously the brutal, tough, close losses, but you could see the foundation. Those that were really looking could see stuff being laid. And it was your first year in the Big Ten. So a lot of changes there too. Then going into year 4, you now get Chad Bowden and his staff. You get a huge influx in NIL, not just an actual donations and dollars, but an actual infrastructure and the way it's going to be ran. And you're not relying on your coaches and someone that's a personnel guy to be allocating NIL contracts, because now you've put in place Bowden, who's arguably one of the best in the business, with an a steam staff that has 2 GMs underneath him, plus other up-and-comers. So now you go into year 4 with that. Not even a full offseason, missed the winter transfer portal, but you have that in place. And then now you see in year 4 a tougher team. Were there missteps? Yes. Were there still mistakes? Yes. But you see a tougher team. You grind out some close, gritty Big Ten wins. Do you still have those monumental road top 10 wins? Didn't happen yet this year. Lost to Oregon, lost to Notre Dame. And then the really brutal loss to Illinois. Didn't happen yet this year. But you see the foundation laid last year. You see the improvement this year. And you're ending the year with this program in the best place it's been in over a decade. To me, that is undeniable. It's undeniable. And so as painful as it's been, should it have been ready in 2 years? Yes. Can you compare to Kurt Cignetti, the unicorn? Sure, if you want to. And that's another road we can go down as well. But this program is the best it's been, ending the season that we have seen. And so you got to see this play out now. Now, as I've been saying, and Madman and Tim, next year's the year. It doesn't mean you got to win the Natty next year, but next year you have to make the playoff. And it's a brutal schedule. You get a brutal schedule to be in a make-or-break year. But you got to make the playoff next year. Then if you fall short of that, then maybe you have conversations and see kind of if there's full-sale changes or smaller tweaks you need to make. But program's in a good spot. You'll start maybe feeling a little differently. This is a fringe team this year. This wasn't an elite team. This wasn't a bad team. This was a fringe playoff team. We knew this going into the year. Anyone that's honest with themselves knew this was a fringe playoff team. 10-win ceiling, 8-win floor. That's what we all said. Some of the haters were saying 6 and 7. Some of the just kind of pipe dreams that think you can win every year were saying 11. But for the realists, this was a 10-win ceiling, 8-win floor team. They take care of business against a bad UCLA team, which, hey, it's a rivalry. Not counting them out. We'll talk more this week. Take care of business. You're at 9 wins. Right in that expectation. College football playoff rankings just came out. The new ones, Tuesday. USC is still at 17. Now, I'm not going to start saying they can make the playoff or whatever. I mean, technically they could if things go crazy this week. There's like a small fraction of a chance that they could actually sneak in somehow. But just to see that they still, even with that loss, are at 17, the committee sees them as a fringe team. A fringe playoff team. From a 6-win, a 6-6 team, 7-6 with the bowl, to a fringe playoff team, that's a vast improvement. And now next year you're a playoff team. So I think things are bright. I think things are working in the right way. I was getting hammered by Oregon fans the last 24 hours. It's great. I love it. Love the engagement. Let's bring it on. UCLA week. We've got a lot of fun stuff planned for you, breaking this game down. It's going to be a great time at the Call-In. Still a lot to play for, and you got to go and beat the Bruins and handle your business and get to 9 wins on the season. And then we can talk offseason, transfer portal, recruiting class coming down the pipe here in 10 days, and just see the trajectory of this program continue to go up. Well, that'll do it from Trojans practice, live in the Diver Dojo, Downey Parking Structure. I appreciate you all, as always. And please, remember to always fight on. Hey, Trojan family, thank you so much for hanging out and watching the USC LAFB show. Before you go, let me tell you quickly about our friends over at Sleeper. Go right now, download the Sleeper app. It's the #1 sports app, not just for season-long fantasy, but they've got live pickers, they've got live stat updates, they've got a chat. You can chat with other users, plus the daily pick'em, which is a blast, or daily fantasy, whatever you want to call it. You go and pick 2 to 8 players across any sports. If you're talking USC, go choose Jayden Maiava in his next matchup. Pick more or less passing yards, more or less touchdowns. You stack those, and you can win real money. When you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code USCLAFB. You're going to get a match deposit up to $100. Put in $100, you get $100 free to play with from Sleeper. Put in $10, they'll match you that $10, so now you're sitting at $20 to play with. But also, right now, for any new users, No deposit required. You get $20 free entry. You can stack both. You can get the $20 for free. Go make a deposit. Use USC LAFB. And now you've got a bunch of free money to play with right there on the Sleeper app. Check it out, Trojan family. And when you do, tell them the guys at the USC LAFB sent you.